Hello. Welcome to our webinar today on the Vista Serena project. We're just going to give everyone a few minutes or a minute or so to get logged in. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Again, welcome to our webinar about the Vista Serena show home. This show home was made possible by WAC Group and Light Can Help You. Today we're going to go over about the show home. We're going to talk about the initial conversations we had with a client who had no idea about lighting and how Light Can Help You really helped him understand what the light could do for their home. We're going to talk about how they put that dream plan together and then the products that were used on the project. So this is an actual picture of the Vista Serena home. It's located in Henderson, which is just outside of Las Vegas. So you can kind of see in the background of this particular image that there's just sweeping views of the Vegas skyline. And this particular home is built into the McCullough mountain range. It has over 10,000 square feet of inside space, 2,500 square feet of outdoor living space. And then there was just over 1,900 WAC lights and fixtures that were used inside this home. So my first question is for Mark, and I do want to take a minute to have Mark introduce himself along with everyone else here. Mark, can you kind of talk through who you are and how you were involved in this project?
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate that. And thanks for having us on board. So I'm Mark Langston. I'm one of the partners at Light Can Help You. We're a lighting design firm, and we focus primarily on high-end residential type of work. Been in the lighting industry for several decades. I won't say exactly how many, but several. And love lighting and love what it is that the story that we get to tell people through design and what lighting can do can change their lives, because most people have literally no idea. So that's me.
Awesome. And before we move on with, I kind of already asked you a question, but let's move on to Kelly from Light Can Help You.
Yep.
Kelly, can you tell me about yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Kelly Hernandez. Super excited to be here. I'm a lighting designer for Light Can Help You. I also manage one of the design studios. I got my start in theatrical lighting and got an internship my senior year with architectural firm and fell in love. I love residential lighting because it's working directly with the homeowners, and these are their passion projects. They're so excited, and being able to collaborate with them and really get them what they need just lights me up. So.
Thank you. And then we also have Christina Marinon from WAC Group. And Christina, you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Christina Marin. I work for the WAC Group. I design and merchandise all our showrooms. I work on catalogs and I work on set builds and basically anything that needs to be merchandised and styled for this company, I probably have my hands in it. So this is really exciting to do this project.
Awesome. Thank you guys and welcome today. And so Mark, let's go back to our question. How did Light Can Help You get involved in this project?
Yeah, it was really came from a couple of different ways. It was a custom integrator that saw the plan, saw that there was a problem. They introduced us to the owner. Martin Zapp, who I think is on this call, was also involved in that process. And so they just knew that there was more that can be done for this home than what was there. The lighting when I first saw the plan was severely lacking. It was just a grid of lights, and there was literally no imagination to it whatsoever. So we had an opportunity to be able to talk to the owner and be able to walk through what lighting design is. How does it fit into what it is that they wanted to accomplish for the home? And he was just amazed. His name is Jack, the owner, and he was just overwhelmed by what was possible and was super pumped by the time we got to the end of that meeting. Then he introduced me to the rest of the team, and he basically did the conversations for us and was able to share what lighting can do. And Rachel, what I love about where we are from a lighting, all of us that have been in lighting for a long time, we feel like we're way down the road. But most homeowners I talk to, they literally have no concept of what lighting is and what lighting design is and how it can impact the home. So it's a monstrous gift that we have to be able to give to people. So that's how we got involved in the home.
And what did the homeowner initially want out of this home?
Well, he wanted to have this home to really kind of be tied into, what the overall view. The view is really the reason for this home. I mean, it's on basically a piece of, uninspired land, except for it's on a mountain that overlooks the strip. And so he had this vision of being able to look out over the city and be able to see it. And so we had a chance to be able to talk through that with him. And what we do as designers is we're digging in with the homeowner to understand, and the design team, what is the dream? What is it that they're looking to accomplish? And how can we help fulfill that dream? And what better job is there than to help people fulfill dreams and be able to put words and thoughts into what they're wanting to do, but take them even farther than what they thought they could do. That's the beauty of it. And so some of the ways that we do that is that image that was up when you were first introduced me, that was kind of going through the sketching process that we use. That's one way that we communicate our ideas. But what we have to do is we have to be able to help them understand, here is where you are, here is what your home currently is going to feel like. And then what is it that can happen? We have to allow them to be able to stretch their thinking. And sometimes it takes people a little bit to go through that process and be able to understand that. So we use a bunch of visuals on the front side to be able to help them understand what's possible. And then once we get through that, then we have to make it happen. I get the fun, easy part. I get to talk about really on the front side about how we go about this. And then we pick the right kind of studio. So we have 3 different studios within our company. And each one of them has a different personality, different strengths in what they can do best. And so that is when we choose where they're going to go to actually go through the work. And that's where Kelly and her team got involved. Well, let me just talk real quick. I'll just talk through these images here. So this, what you're seeing now, is a sketching process that we use. And this is what I showed Jack before. This is not his house. This is a generic home. And we use these images and the sketches to be able to help people visualize what's possible. How can we do lighting? What are some different scenarios that we can use so they can start thinking about things in a different way, like I was saying? And then we have the ability, when we're using these images, to be able to pull ideas out of them, to be able to work with the whole team, to be able to pick up from the interior designer and the build team, which, by the way, on this project was amazing, and how they allowed us to be able to change some things in the field. They were super flexible to be able to do that. But if you think about the sketching you're seeing, this helps you be able to see light in 3D, which most people can't see. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we use it. And I think if you'll just kind of hit the fast forward or skip slide button, it'll take you beyond that. And then there'll be some other images that we can take a look at. So the before and after is super important for people to be able to see and be able to kind of understand what the impact is going to be for the lighting. So this is a couple of images that will show you one is, most designers think about lighting as task, ambient, and accent lighting. We think way beyond that. We're looking at materiality, we're looking at color, we're looking at emotions. How does that fit in? And then we're also taking a look at what in the home, what are, challenging areas, reflection off of glass. In this case, what's the view? How do we tie in the interior and the exterior? And so once we get the emotions tied into that, that's when it's time to get down to work. And so we picked Kelly and Studio Luna to be able to work on this, because I know Kelly's personality and how she works, and it matched really well with the team that went into this. So I'm going to hand off to Kelly, and Kelly, kind of help us understand what happened after you got the project.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, Jack didn't know much about lighting, and then you razzle-dazzled him with all those images, and he came to me and he said, I see the strip from my house. I want the house to compete with Las Vegas. And I said, okay, what does that mean to you? You know, what does it mean competing with Las Vegas? And so we used a bunch of visual tools. A sketch just came up of the exterior. We're a completely remote company, so communicating via Zoom is not unusual for us. And trying to figure out how he was going to use the space. How do he and his wife entertain? Do they cook every night, just on special occasion? What does entertaining look like? Is it outside? Is it inside? Because it's Nevada, it's typically inside with some nice air conditioning. So being able to figure out how they're going to utilize the space and then being able to design the lighting in tandem with that together. So the first meeting doesn't seem to be like it's talking about lighting at all, because I'm just talking to Jack about him and about how he spends his days and his evenings, and does he work from home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So once I knew more, then I was able to maximize the value and the investment in the lighting to match how he's going to use the space. So we use WAC as our manufacturer, of course. That's why we're here today to talk about it, because they are the ones that had every single component we were looking for. So we gave them the Vegas through all of the linear lighting, so we could be able to transition from the natural look to the razzle dazzle. For those big giant windows, we did tunable white so we could match the lighting that was coming in during the day. A lot of homeowners say they don't need light during the day because they have those windows, but think about, further deeper into the kitchen, we want to make sure it's well lit too in comparison to even it out. Upstairs in the bedrooms, we did warm dim because Jack's mentality was they shouldn't be in their rooms. They should be hanging out with us. So we wanted to have that warm dim for relaxing, but they don't need that tunable white. And then the utility spaces, we did static white because we're trying to maximize the investment and spend the money where they're going to spend the time, not in the pantry. So that's kind of how we were able to take from nothing to the major vision and fall somewhere that was right for this home.
Awesome. Once the customer understood the importance of lighting, did you have any challenges or anything like that to face?
It was really about being able to put the right light in the right place. So we put a bunch of ideas forth. This is one of the sketches that was actually the architect's rendering that we put lighting on top of. And being able to figure out, we were thinking incorporating some linear into all of those beds, but you'll see in the next image, we ended up going with an uplight. One more maybe. Being able to use uplights instead and being able to work with, the building constraints. Some things were already in process of being built. There were already, holes poured for uplights. Being able to flex and put the best light in the best place and still accomplish what we were looking for as things changed on site. As you guys probably all know on the call, nothing ends up the way it starts on paper. Things have to evolve and change. So being able to still have great ideas, still capture what we were looking for as things transitioned. Yeah.
So this is an actual image. Some of the other ones were mock-ups, or however we want to identify renderings. This is an actual image of the home. And so we can talk about maybe some of the different spaces and some of the lighting solutions that were used and implemented. So I know this was the living space of the home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I said, Jack's an entertainer and wanted to really bring people into this living space and wow them. And so we were working with suggesting different types of things like coves where there weren't coves before. This is originally a flat ceiling. And we said, hey, wouldn't it be cool to do that? There's that giant oculus in the center that you can see in the back of this image that was really a wow moment coming from inside to outside. So we wanted to make sure we highlighted that as well.
And that was the biggest door I've ever seen on a home, on the front of that home. It is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I know this was a real photo from the home once it was completed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the main bar space, hangout lounge area where people can come get a drink before dinner. And, every single piece of linear in here is also color changing. So it can be as natural as this, but be able to transition into that party, fun Vegas vibe when the time was right for that.
So you talk about the color changing and the tunable white. What smart systems did you use and connectivity did you use throughout the home to kind of make that happen?
Yeah, so we utilize Vantage controls to be able to set scenes and different lighting capabilities. We have these amazing fixtures that can do color, that can do tunable, but without controls, they can't do much. So we were able to set scenes to transition throughout the time of day. We recommend an on button that on means something different at different times of the day, because you want to feel energized during the day and you want to be able to relax in the evening. And there's the view of the strip there that I was talking about in that image. But being able to set the mood with controls is really important. And Mark was there for the final finish and programming. Anything you want to add to that, Mark?
Yeah, it was really, when we get there at the end, we don't go to all projects, but this is one that was important to get there. And the fixtures need to be adjusted. Everything needs to be really dialed in. It's like it's an unfinished product until that happens. And that's when the magic really happens, because everything that is supposed to be highlighted, particularly in this type of a home, needs to be very specific. And so that was quite a bit of time. I think that originally Jack, when he saw it before it was all adjusted, he's kind of like, eh. But after he saw it adjusted, he's like, he understood what the effort was. And I think that's one of the things, Rachel, it takes effort. I mean, it's not a linear process. Kelly was talking about that because Jack and Linda changed their mind on things and they started expanding ideas. And we were getting some feedback from construction about some things that might be some challenges. And so how were we going to be able to adapt to that? Because it all comes down to how do we put all the pieces together to make sure everybody can do what it is that they need to do at a price point that is appropriate for what it is they want to spend. And sometimes that's easier than others. This was a very flexible group to be able to work with, but there were some things we need to jump through to be able to make that happen.
Right. And also, I'm a lighting designer. So the first thing I think is, ooh, I can put light there. Ooh, I can put light there. Ooh, I can put light there. And then you get feedback from on site that says, hey, Kelly, I love the idea. Beautiful, but it'd be a lot easier if we did it like this. So being able to collaborate, being able to save time on the job site, being able to give Jack what he wanted in maybe a different way, is really important. And one thing we haven't talked about yet is the decorative fixtures and being able to, be as bold as the home without stealing any attention is really you have to thread that needle really well. And I think Christina did a wonderful job at that. Christina, did you want to mention anything about that?
Sure, yeah. When I started on this project, I was like, oh, this is always what I'm used to doing because I always get the light fixture first and then I design around it. So it wasn't really a challenge for me to pick out some pieces just looking at the drawings of the home. So here, what I really wanted to pick at first, I'm more of a maximalist designer. So at first I was like, let's put 3 of these linear pieces over the table. But then it came to, we don't know how big the table's going to be. So then I really went to look for something that kind of mirrors the house. So I love this as the construct. It's edge lit. I wanted to do something black because you see there's so many black elements in the house with the sharp edges and everything. I thought this was a really great piece. So I think this came out amazing. First, I wanted 3. We shrunk it down to 1, but I think it looks really great.
Yeah, so a huge impact. And, Jack's pretty minimalistic to start. And so being able to pick decoratives that fits in perfect. It's like you designed the design of the home. So, that's awesome.
Yeah, it also doesn't block the view and it fits in really well to all that. So I think you did an outstanding job on that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is another one that it definitely changed drastically from here to where we ended up. But this is just showing, hey, Jack, you want color? Let's put color everywhere we can to be able to transition. So the next image is the true image where we're showing more of a more natural look. It's all in white, but all of the linear can change to that color when the time is right. But that time is, as much as Jack probably wanted it to be a rave all day, every day, we also want to be able to be a natural, classy, simplistic scene too.
Move into the bedroom.
Yeah, Mark said that's the biggest door he's ever seen. This is the biggest headboard I've ever seen. And I'm from California. And I sent a picture to my sister. And the first thing she said is, earthquakes, hello. So a little different for different areas, right? But being able to highlight that, it's such a showstopper moment. You walk in from on the left is walking into the room. You see that headboard. It's like, wow. So we wanted to make sure we lit that up too. So we've got a halo around that. And then we added a decorative in this space too, that again, like it's right at the line of the window that you're not compromising any view. So that was really important to Jack, to make sure that we had the decorative, had the sparkle, but not compromising on that beautiful view.
Yeah, that was a tricky angle because there's that open living area that's above in the master bedroom there that it doesn't block that view either. So it was perfectly picked and placed for sure.
Yeah, I think we'll show that next. Christina, do you want to talk about this light fixture that was placed in the room?
Sure. I picked the Pisces because I wanted you to be able, as they were just saying, to kind of see through the windows. And I love everything with our small airplane cable on it, because I feel like even if you're looking at it from close up or far away, it looks like it's kind of like floating in the air. And everything we make with Spanish alabaster, I love. And I feel like it's really trending right now. So I wanted to get like that more organic stone looking feeling in this room. So I think it looks great. And I love that you can change the height on everything too. So if they ever want to pull this down, make it drop down a little, or keep it at that height, I think it's a great piece for here.
Yeah, right now with how it's clustered, it kind of fits right in with the clouds that are in the view right now. It looks like one of them is floating. Yeah.
Oh, and then the bathroom. I thought we were going to that master bedroom sitting area next, Jack. Sorry. So they had the master bath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is a space where, there's a fireplace in the shower. I don't know how often I've ever heard that, if ever. So that was a really interesting challenge. And, my first recommendation is, well, let's put a light in there. And they were like, with the way the fireplace is built, we can't really do that. And so being able to we put light underneath the vanities to bring the light low. So it's almost like the fireplace is like continuing into the space. And the image we have is during the next image is during the daytime. So we're not going to get the full, or they have the light set for the daytime, excuse me. So it's not fully there, but when they do get warm and they do dim down, it looks like the fire from the fireplace is kind of like continuing within the space, and it really gives it a spa feel versus a like active shower feel. So being able to have that flexibility is nice.
All right, finally. So this space is actually up the stairs from the bedroom, but it's part of the master bedroom space and its own little sitting area for the master bedroom. Did you want to talk a little bit about this now, Jack? I'm sorry, Mark.
Yeah, this area they wanted to be able to go and read and be able to be relaxed when they have guests. While they like to entertain, they also very private people. And so to be able to just kind of hang out on their own, they have this area here, but it does look out over the strip. I mean, basically every room, except for a couple of the guest rooms, look over the strip. But it's just a very comfortable environment. Again, it's very clean. It plays off a lot of the things that were happening down in the master bedroom also. And so it's just an incredibly comfortable space.
Yeah. And the vibe is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just love the way the steps were lit. They were lit going up to the space, and you can see the steps off to the upstairs patio as well. But I don't know if you want to mention anything there, Kelly, as well as you go into this.
Yeah. And because it's in the same space as the primary bedroom, we also wanted to continue kind of themes throughout. So with the fireplace here, it changed a little and got redeveloped from the sketch we just saw, but we wanted to halo that just like we have for the headboard. So we're kind of continuing themes throughout the home. And yeah, the steps are so cool being lit like that. It really does help guide you up, and it keeps you safe, but it also looks pretty cool. So.
This is the master closet, another decorative piece. Kelly, you have anything to say here? Or it was pretty simple, I think.
And this is one of two closets. This is her closet. And my poor husband, after doing this home, I have tons of ideas for our house. We're actually turning his office into my closet. So looking forward to that. But we kept it pretty minimalistic and simple in here, and just wanted to make sure that everything was really well lit. And, her closet deserves a little razzle dazzle. So I think that decorative is perfect. Christina, do you want to talk about your selection for that one too?
Sure. So Jack came to me and he's like, this is my wife's closet. I want something really glamorous and something that's going to pop in the middle of the room. So I said, perfect, astericide. I used to call this fixture dandelion for the biggest time, because that's what it reminds me of. And you can't really see it in this photo, but it has tiny little fractal crystals in this fixture. So when you walk around it, it really does give you that little sparkle. And it's kind of like I would call it my organic like Sputnik. So I love this pendant, and we picked out a custom finish for it. This is a white finish, and if you also look a little closer when you're up to this fixture, it has like a little bit of like a glitter in it. Very more demure, but it does give it that little sparkle on the paint. So it looks beautiful in this room.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the whimsy of a dandelion with like the classiness of the crystal, kind of like juxtaposed, but so feminine and perfect for the space.
Yeah,
It
it's
really
delicate.
is.
It's a delicate fixture that takes some contemplation to figure out what's happening with it. It's beautiful.
All right, so this is the rec space that's actually on the second level of the home.
Yeah, so you'll see kind of on the left here, the Oculus, that's what we saw from the bottom level. So it really is a full house experience, that Oculus. It goes to the outside, the door is there, and then goes into the living space downstairs and this rec space. So it really was like the highlight of the home, kind of what kept it all, the center ring. So making sure we highlighted that was important. And this is just showing again, like where we could go with color, and the ceiling was really minimalistic. So where can we sneak in these elements of linear to be able to give us the Vegas feel without muddying up the ceiling? And if it's not furnished here, so we'll have to use our imaginations, but you know, there's another fireplace with that same halo, continuing that theme throughout, and then being able to put things in the browse of the windows where we're seeing it at night, but during the day it helps bring the sunlight in and gets light up on the ceiling and helps, you know, that ceiling is beautiful. We want to make sure that it's highlighted now. So being able to help bring the eye up and feel the height and you know, bring the sunlight inward.
I know this was a bar space next to the rec area.
Yeah, and this is where we do something a little different. We're thinking always about where the lighting is from the 3D perspective, from the eye line. So you'll see that the underneath the cabinets and underneath the first shelf, the light's pointed down, but around 5, 6 is where our eyes are. So from that point on, we point the light up so that you're not getting glare from each line of light that's lighting the cabinets, because we want to be able to highlight what's eventually going to be on those shelves, not just blind you with light. So that's really important to us to be thinking about it, not just from looking down in a plan view, but really to be thinking about it from a 3D living in the space view.
Well, thank you for going over all that. And just again, as a recap, we had a ton of different fixtures from all of our different brands in the home. Is there any, you know, closing thoughts, Kelly, Mark, Christina, that you want to share with everyone in regards to the home before we kind of look and see if we have any questions?
Yeah, just one last comment. We just really used WAC to its full potential. You know, we had exterior linear that we utilized. We had all the landscape. We had color changing, tunable, warm dim, and it all worked seamlessly together using the Vantage controls to be able to get everything calibrated and keyed in. So we really maxed out all that we could do on this home. So it was really exciting.
Yeah. You know, it's a process, you know, to be able to go through that. It was about a month or so from the time I first presented the ideas to the homeowner to the time we got the work. Kelly did an amazing job getting this through in a little over 3.5 months, going through the design process, which was really fast based on what it is we needed to do. And then it slows down to about 15 months from the time we finished our design to when it was actually completed. And there was a tremendous amount of work that went into that. And the WAC team being in the field, being able to help with the controls, to be able to help coordinate the whole process was hugely helpful. We spent about 2 days on setting scenes. You have to do it during the daytime. You have to do it in the morning. You have to do it at night. You have to do it all those times to be able to get it right. And so it is a heavy lift to pull things out, to have them finish up. But that's what really makes the difference, is the little things. And that's what Jack really appreciated when he got to the end. It's like, that was a lot to go through, but I am so pleased with the end result of what this is. And it was, I think it even surprised him, even though he had gone through so much of that design process. So as a, you know, as a professional that, you know, just loves lighting, there's nothing more than we appreciate than when the client at the end goes, man, this makes all the difference in the world. And it does, because there's another home that was finished just next door that other people had gone into, and they're like, there is no comparison. between these two homes. And they're both multi-million-dollar amazing view homes. So we have a gift that we need to be sharing with people.
Yeah, it really was a pleasure to work on this project. And I just think the home looks amazing with all the layers of light that were added by you, Kelly and Mark. It's just a beautiful, it comes together gorgeous. And even the decorative fixtures are lit by the layers of light in this home. So I think it just makes everything pop, and it's gorgeous.
I know there was a few questions. One, is the webinar being recorded? Yes, it's being recorded, and we'll also make sure to send it out and make it available on our social media and through email. One of the questions was what kind of software was used for the lighting design?
Oh, sure. So for the sketching that you saw, we use Autodesk Sketchbook as our main program. If you like those sketches, you should see David Warple's. Oh my gosh, he is an artisan. I pale in comparison, but enough to get the point across. But we use Autodesk Sketchbook for that. And then we draft with AutoCAD, and we use Bluebeam as well for like marking up sketches and that kind of thing in plans. Yeah.
So somebody else asked, I'm doing a home now with floating cabinets. What did you use in the kitchen to give the glow/halo effect?
Yeah, so I believe it wasn't the Invisaled LED. Patrick, you might have the spec tool open or the fixture schedule open to give a faster answer there, but I believe that's what we used for those. You're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes. Yeah, there was RGB WW tape in certain areas, tunable white tape, and then the Invisaled, yes, for the static white, for the glow, correct.
All right, so just looking at some additional questions.
There was one for Mark and Kelly about why they have different divisions within their organization. What do the three divisions do?
Okay. It's design studios is what I meant to say if I didn't say that. But we have groups of people that work on a project, so we have different levels of technical skill, expertise, and then we break that down so we can have multiple projects going at the same time. And, everybody's got a bit of a different personality. Some homeowners are, get to the point kind of people. Other people want to go on a journey. And so we want to make sure we're coupling the right kind of communication with the right kind of client to be able to do that. And so relationships are so important in all business, and lighting design is no different. And so how do we actually make it an environment where the homeowner wants to be in the meeting? It's so cool when we hand off the job, and a lot of times the client is sad that this thing's over, and we're not going to be in these meetings kind of sharing their dreams. So it's very rewarding to get that from our clients.
There was another question that came in that says they see a lot of bulkheads and coves. Did you get the architect to plan for this early in the stages to hide the pockets of light?
Yeah, so when we suggest something, we typically send a preliminary detail just so they know what we're kind of getting them into prior to us suggesting things. And so we'll send some lighting best practices. And sometimes they'll say, maybe the millworker, for example, will say, hey, this is how we typically do it. What do you think about that? And we'll collaborate and make sure that the light fits and it's giving the right effect. So we usually work together, and the earlier we get in, the better, so we can work together a little earlier. But as things go on, we kind of work, if we're get in a little later, then we work with what we've got, and here's how we can still get the right kind of light with maybe a different solution.
Yeah, I think that's key. Let me kind of just finish on that, if you don't mind. I think it's key to be involved as early as possible in the process, because we can inform on the architecture before it's done. And it costs a lot less money for a client to be able to make those adjustments early in the process. So I remember there was one, I think it was in the game room area, Kelly. We had an idea that we were so excited about sharing, and we shared it. And it's like, we just laid the beam there. It was an I-beam. They just laid that, placed that I-beam that day. And so we were one day late sharing an idea. But if we'd have been involved earlier, it would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The same person also asked, how do you handle contractors from changing your specs to something cheaper?
Yeah, so that's just part, like, we know that's coming. And so we try to educate as much as possible throughout the process on why we're picking performance fixtures, whether it's, to make sure we're hitting a piece of art, just because the light says it's 3 inches, 1,000 lumens, 90 CRI, that can mean anything, right? And so being able to say, hey, we're picking this light to get the tilt right, to make sure we're getting no striations, to make sure that we're getting the center beam candle distribution, all these technical terms, right? But to make sure we're getting the right light in the right place, it's really important that you pick the light we specified. And if there's going to be a change, or if there is a VE issue, talk to us so that we can work together on it versus just something random showing up on site.
Mm-hmm. I think also it's building the value early in what it is. If you think about when a client has come to us and they have no idea that what they're going to do from a lighting perspective, and all of a sudden they've seen this vision of what is possible, if they go out and change those specs, there is a high likelihood that their vision is going to be shot. So we've built a relationship with them through that process to where they trust what it is we tell them to use most of the time. And sometimes you get somebody that'll go out and shop it, but if you build value early, then they're less likely to go out and shop you. And if you use the right kind of products to where they can't get them everywhere, that is helpful too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Another question. Did you do a lot of lighting calculation to check the light levels?
Not a ton. For certain specific areas, we do, we're always looking at what the lumens are of the fixture, looking at the ceiling heights. He's had some dramatically high ceilings, especially like in that primary bedroom. We want to make sure the light is really getting down where it needs to. Through years of experience, I'm not calculating every single thing that we work on. I've got a pretty good gut feeling, or knowledge. It became a gut feeling due to lots of years of knowledge of knowing how many lumens you really need to get out of a fixture. But we do calc specific areas sometimes.
So another question, the quality of the render suggests that they were made by different people with different material rendering quality and lighting settings. Did you use 3D Max for renderings? I think you may have answered that earlier.
Yeah, so we actually got renderings from the architect, and then we sketched lighting on top of it using Autodesk. So I'm not sure where the original rendering came from. We also used the elevation from the architect because the rendering view is from way in the street, and I wanted to show what it was going to look like kind of dead on. So I used an elevation for that. So we kind of use backgrounds from other people sometimes. And then on some projects where there's not a model, we will actually do a 3D model in SketchUp, and then export that and sketch on top of it with Sketchbook.
The 3D models are really key to be able to see, because we're living life in 3D, and lighting is a three-dimensional element. And so if we're looking at reflected ceiling plans, you just don't get the feel, and a homeowner can't really understand what's happening. So the 3 dimensions is really important. And a lot of times we don't like to have the highly rendered images, because you get lost in, is it the right color of wood? Oh, no, we took that one shelf out. They get lost in that when we're talking big pictures. We want to try not to go, and this happens in our second meeting, by the way, we share the original sketches. We don't want them to go too far into detail.
Right. I literally had someone say, oh, we changed the paint of that to a slightly deeper yellow. Is that going to be a problem? And I'm like, oh my gosh, we are getting lost here. So the original sketches Mark showed, that was the video. That's typically our standard of being in grayscale, so that we don't get lost in that. We're just talking about the lighting elements.
All right. There's been some other questions, but I know Patrick and some others have been answering in the background as we go. So if there's any additional questions, you could continue to put in the chat, and we will respond. But I just want to thank Christina, Kelly, Mark. Thank you so much for your time today and going through this project. It was a truly exciting project to be a part of, and we will be having more information on this project coming out in the next month or so. We'll have a whole video with more descriptions about the home and more images as well. So thank you very much, and everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, Rachel. Bye-bye.